Right, so tuberculosis is not common in the U.S. It's not common in most wealthier countries, but it's very common in poor countries, and it's the 8th leading cause of death in the world. And tuberculosis is a fascinating disease because it's really a window into all sorts of larger problems in society. If you go back 100 or so years when tuberculosis was very common, even in countries like the United States and Europe, everybody knew someone who had TB. It was part of the general consciousness. Writers wrote about it. Composers composed about it. La Boheme is about someone with tuberculosis, for example. And it was really part of the general consciousness the way AIDS is now, because everybody knew about it. And one of the fascinating things is that cases of tuberculosis in the United States declined very rapidly between, let's say, 1900 and the end of World War II, at a time when there was no treatment for tuberculosis at all. So the question is, why did TB cases go away so much when there were no antibiotics to treat it? And the answer, of course, is that general social conditions have so much to do with the spread of diseases in general, and certainly tuberculosis. So people living in crowded housing conditions, like we had and still have to a certain degree in tenements in the Lower East Side, for example. There was lots of TB there. Malnutrition, which is a close cousin of poverty, is a real cause of tuberculosis. And as those things improved in places like the United States and Western Europe, TB cases went down quite a bit. The decline accelerated, of course, a lot after the introduction of antibiotics. But the fact that tuberculosis is such an epidemic around the world is a reminder of how little we've done to address just basic human conditions in so many parts of the world. And now, of course, in certain parts of the world, like Southern Africa, TB is being fueled by HIV, and our inability to control that, I think, is also a reminder of how far we have to go in terms of social progress, not just progress in medical science. So I think it's a very poignant disease, and as I said, really is a reminder of how far we've come in some places and how far we haven't come in some other places. The failure to develop new diagnostic tools and new treatments for tuberculosis is also a reminder of the benefits and the costs of the system that we have for developing new tools like that. It's a system that's driven by markets, not always by human need. And when you have a disease where 95% of the affected people live in developing countries, there's very little economic incentive for anybody to really do anything about it. And so that's the situation we have.